Okay, today I'm going to talk about, well, basically how to build a rabbit cage. I'm going to be building, a cage that's 36 inches wide, or long, I guess, depending on how you look at it, and 30 inches wide. So 36 by 30, 18 inches tall. So a couple things you're going to need here. You're going to need some wire. This is wall wire. This is 1 inch by 2 inch galvanized wire. Don't use hardware cloth, use cage wire. You can get that at, around here it's Tractor Supply, Lowe's, any of those places. That'll form the sides of the cage. Now I've already cut this to size. It's 18 inches high. Cut it off at 11 feet long. You're going to need a pair of dikes that you can cut the wire with. You make it pretty handy. You're going to need a tape measure to do your measuring. You'll need a pair of J-clip pliers. Look like this. You can pick those up at, again, Tractor Supply, any kind of farm home supply store that you have. You also need J-clips themselves. Now, I've got a whole little bag of them right here, but basically, if you get one out of here, I'll show you what they look like. Look like that. They're just a little round, kind of J-shaped looking clip. They fit inside the grooves of those pliers, and you mash them down to hold the cage together. Let's see, you're going to need a 2x4 or some kind of good straight edge. This is what's going to help us form the corners of the cage. And you'll also need some 1/2 inch by 1 inch galvanized wire. This will be the floor of the cage. This cage wire right here is too big for the floor of the cage. It's hard on the rabbit's feet. This smaller stuff works out pretty well. It's what they also call baby saver wire. It's a smaller diameter. It's a little bit easier on their feet. The droppings will still drop right through. So this is what works for the bottom of the cage. I'm going to use that for the top of the cage as well. You could use the larger diameter or the larger size cage wire for the top if you wanted. I just have plenty of the smaller one, and I don't have much of the larger one. So we'll get started on getting it going. Alright, now I'm getting ready to bend the cage wire. So what I've done is kind of laid it out flat. I put something heavy. I just put my toolbox on the end there. I measured down from the end all the way down to 36 inches, which comes out to right here. And it actually comes in between the middle of these two, right there. Comes between these two in the middle. So what I do is I'll move up to here and I'll count this, and this will be my cage back or cage front. It doesn't really matter which one. So what I'm going to do is take this 2x4. Let me see if I can get a good, count it back a little bit. Take the 2x4 and lay it right up along where 36 inches is, which works right along there. It's also important, if you can see these wires that go this way, make sure that you're bending with those wires. Keep them on top when you're bending the wire, because you don't want to bend against them. That kind of weakens them. So this will keep them strong. You take the 2x4. It's a good idea to wear gloves while you're working with this wire, because the edges that you cut can be very, very sharp. Lay your 2x4 against the edge that you want to bend against. I just sit on it with my knee. Bend the wire up. Take you a hammer. Just kind of beat on it a little bit to make that nice sharp point. Doesn't have to be perfect. This needs to be a bend so you can let me see it. And don't worry about this wobbly piece right here. It'll straighten out whenever we get the other corners made. So next I'm going to bend. I'm going to go 30 inches from this corner over and make another bend. So if I measure that out, 30 inches. I'm going to tape measure to cooperate with me. 30 inches comes to, let's see, right about there. So again, I'll go ahead and go to the next mark over because it comes in between those two. So again, take my 2x4, lay it across where my 30-inch mark is. Bend my cage wire. Oops. Go ahead and start knocking it into place. And then, as you probably guessed, what we're going to do is go 36 inches from this corner and do it all over again. So, okay, after our bends, we're kind of left with a mess of wire here, but what we're going to do is usually just set it up on end, work it out, kind of put my corners together. It's still going to look kind of roundish, but it'll straighten out whenever you get it all clamped together and you get your top put on. So don't worry about that too much. So now, oops, sorry. You get your J-pliers. You take one of these and you set it inside. That's really hard to do with gloves on. Okay. You set it inside here, like so. Then you're going to take your corners, put them together, and again, don't worry about making it a square yet. And when you squeeze on those pliers, it pushes those J-clips together. I'm not sure if you can see that. I'll do another one. They don't need to be on there incredibly tight. What I do is about one every inch, every square. So again, put these on there. Make sure that get my wire all arranged here. Make sure you got both wires inside there when you do it. And then just squeeze them together. And again, they don't need to be incredibly tight. All they're doing is holding it together. Do that all the way down the length of the cage. One about every square. Okay, now I'm going to make the bottom, and well, really the bottom and the top are made the same way. I'm using the same wire for them. So again, I'm using 1/2 inch by 1 inch cage wire, not hardware cloth, but cage wire. You'll notice it's quite a bit stiffer than the previous cage wire you were working with. I set a toolbox on one end to make it lay flat. My cage wire is already 30 inches wide, which makes it nice because I don't have to cut it down that way. So my cages again are 36 by 30, so I'm going to measure 36 inches and cut it off. So simply take my tape measure, lay it down here, measure out to 36 inches, which is right there, and let's see, it falls in between, and I'm actually going to cut this a little bit on the short side because this is my stability. This is what holds everything together, so I don't need it any longer. So, make a cut with my dice, don't need the tape measure, and I'm simply going to cut all the way across. One note, these spots where you cut right here, that's going to be really, really sharp, so you want to be careful, and again, it's a good idea to wear gloves. If this was a part, this is going to be the top and the bottom of the cage, so nothing's really going to come in contact with it, so I'm not going to worry too much about those sharp edges. If it was the doorway or something like that, or a hay rack or something like that, then I would grind those off with my Dremel, smooth them out so that, especially on doorways, because you're sticking your arms in there and rabbits are coming in contact with that, and you don't want to, it will cut you. But again, on the top and the bottom of the cage, I'm not terribly worried about that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these off, and then I'll come back once I'm done cutting, because it's no fun to watch me cut. Okay, got my top cut now, or my bottom, whichever way you want to look at it. And you'll notice it's going to be kind of tricky to put on when you first start, because your cage is not perfect square, so it doesn't want to just sit on top. So what I usually do is just start with the opposite corner of the one that's clipped together, because that's the one that seems to kind of want to, get all kinds of crazy on me. So again, I'll take my J-clip pliers, I'll put a J-clip in them, just like so. And I'll start in the very, very corner, because that's the easiest place. One other thing I'll mention is you'll notice how this wire wants to bow. I always put it with the bow down when I'm doing the bottom of the cage, the bow to the inside of the cage. That just seems to give it a little bit more stability. So since I'm starting right here, all I need to do is, it's a little bit tricky to do. Start right here in the corner, put myself a J-clip. Then I'll work my way down this edge. And what I'll do is I'll put one about every other inch along the edge of this cage. Once I get a whole row done, it'll become significantly easier. Once I get this side done, then I'll work on the back, and then it'll start coming into place pretty quickly and pretty easily. So, again, take J-clip pliers, go over about another inch, move this along the side. Again, your J-clip pliers don't need to be incredibly strong. One thing I will do is I'll put two right here in the corner, because one's on one side, one's on the other. And then I'll start working my way down and doing one every other inch or so. So my next one will go on this one. It gets significantly easier as you go. So again, I've got one there, I'll go here. I'll get another one, and I'll put it right there. Another one, and so on all the way to the other corner. Okay, you can kind of see I've got J-clips all along the one side. So what I'm going to do is just start right here in the corner and work my way around. And like I said, this point on it gets significantly easier. Sometimes the corners don't want to match up exactly, but you can just kind of smash them into place. I mean, it's a rabbit cage we're making. It doesn't have to be perfect. Put me a clip on there, and then again I'll go down about every other one all the way down the side. So. It really does help to have gloves on during this, but it's really hard to handle these little J-clips with gloves on. So. It's giving me a little bit of problems. Go. And I'm just going to work all the way down the end. Okay, well, I've got the bottom all on. As you can see, it's starting to take shape now. It's starting to look like a rabbit cage. So, you can make this the top or the bottom. It doesn't matter because I'm using it with J-clips. There's a little bit of a gap right here, but that's not too bad. If I'm worried about it, I could tie it together with some more J-clips. But this, it's not much to worry about, really. Anyway, just J-clips about every other inch or so. All the way around. That's probably more J-clips than you actually need, but I'm going to be secure. So anyway, next thing I'm going to do is just basically flip this thing over. And now we've got a big wire box. Back up a little bit so you can see that. And then basically I'll do the same thing. I'll take this 1/2 inch by 1 inch wire, cut it 36 inches, and clip it all the way around. And then we'll have a full cage. All we'll have to do is put a door on. Okay, should have the top and the bottom on the cage now, so it's starting to look a little bit like a rabbit cage now. Next thing to do is just pretty much put the door on the cage. So what I've done is marked out where I'm going to be cutting the door. I'm going to be cutting from right here, this mark here, all the way across, and then up to this mark right here, and from here across and down. So that's about a, I think it's a 12-inch by 13-inch door. I put my doors right in the middle of the cage. I put a feeder, over here on one side. I put the water bottle over here on the other side. You can pretty much do them however you want to. So, but the next step is pretty much just to cut out the cage. So basically, just start with my marks and start cutting the door out. And work my way around. Okay, got the door cut out here. One thing I want to mention is these edges right here where you've cut, they're going to be incredibly sharp. So you probably want to grind those down, file those down. I use a Dremel with a grinding tool on it and just kind of round them off so that they're not sharp. You could put edging across there if you wanted to, like a plastic edging, but I tend to see the rabbits pretty much chew on anything you put in their cage. So I just grind them down to where they're not sharp. And it doesn't take very long. Just make sure if you're using a grinding wheel or a Dremel or something like that, you're wearing safety glasses. So I'll get that done and we'll be right back. Okay, that's all done. So I've got the hole cut out. I've got the edges all kind of smoothed off here. Next, you're going to cut yourself a door, and just cut yourself a door out of just regular cage wire. Make it bigger than the hole. And I don't know if you can see that on the camera or not, but it expands over about an inch on each side. And I do my doors open to the inside. They open up on the inside, fold back down. I just find that to be a little more secure. If I forget to latch the door or whatever, it stays closed anyway. You can do them however you want to. You can latch them on the outside of the cage, at the top, and open them up. You could latch them on the side, open this way, front down, however you want to do it. What I do is I just cut a piece of cage wire. Make sure you smooth the cut edges off. I've already done that on this one. And then I'll stick it inside the cage like so, and use my J-clips to just line it up to where it kind of overlaps evenly. Use my J-clips along the top. Let me get those ready. Pretty good. Just clip it in place. Okay, got the J-clips across the top. You can see, just J-clipped it to the top of the cage, and now I've got a door that functions, folds open and closed. What I do is put a little clasp on the bottom right here that I can just clip to the cage itself and kind of hold it closed. And then that's pretty much all there is to it. If you're going to use a feeder that hangs on the outside of the cage, you'll need to cut a spot out for that and fit it in. One more thing I'll mention is if this is going to be a cage for a breeding female, then you need to take some of this smaller wire like we have on the bottom here, this 1/2 inch by 1 inch, and you need to take a strip about an inch wide or so and run it all the way around the bottom of the cage, all the way around, and just J-clip it to the cage. Because what happens, these holes right here, when a rabbit has her babies on the cage floor, the babies can squirm through these holes and they'll end up on the floor and you'll lose your babies. So it's not good. So that's what they use, that smaller wire like you have on the bottom, and like I said, just run a strip and J-clip it to the cage. It doesn't have to be extremely sturdy. It just needs to be there to keep the babies from falling out. So that's pretty much it on cage construction. It's pretty much done. Just needs to be hung or put on a rack or however you're going to do it. Put your rabbits inside and you're good to go. So let me know if you have any questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. Alright, well, I figured I'd give you a little quick update and kind of show you what a cage looks like hung up. This is my little rabbit barn. male over there, breeding female, another breeding female, another breeding female over there. So anyway, this is kind of what they look like hung up. I hung them in a little, just got like a lean-to barn here. You can see I've got wire on the front. Just wrap it around, tie it up here, tie it up there. The back of the cage, I don't know if you can see that in the camera. I've got hooks that are hooked to the back of the 2x4, just hung on there. In each corner I've got that. And then again, and it's pretty good and sturdy. It's not really going anywhere. But again, here's the baby saber wire that I talked about. I've just got it clipped up, and I actually probably did this a little higher than you need to do, but just cut a piece out, clipped it along on the sides, down there on the door. It's just a, if you can see that, it's just a smaller diameter wire, so it keeps the babies in whenever they're born. I hang some tarps up. Let me back up a little bit. You can see that. Hang some tarps up underneath, tie them to the cage, kind of angle them. So what ends up happening is, all the manure catches in the tarp. The urine runs down. Kind of gross, but the urine runs down here, catches in this Rubbermaid tub. I just emptied it out this morning, so it's not, about every 2 or 3 days I'll push all the manure down into the tub, hose it out so it's clean, and empty that into the compost pile. Here's my feeder. That's pretty simple, self-explanatory to put on. You just got to cut out a spot big enough for the inside to go inside the cage. It's got these little clips that come on there. These are nice feeders because just open them up, you can fill them right from the outside. You don't have to get into the cage to do it. Got a hay rack hanging on the outside, which is just a piece of cage wire that I cut off at an angle and clipped it onto the cage itself. Stuff hay down inside there, and they just pull it through. Goodness, they just pull it through, and they'll eat plenty of it. So you can see. The good thing about this, I hang it right above the feeder. Excess hay, don't think you can see it, but excess hay falls into the feeder. And don't bite me. She likes to nibble on things stuck in her cage. The excess hay will fall into the feeder there, and they'll end up chewing on the feeder. So it kind of eliminates the waste just a little bit. I like these water bottles quite a bit for the summertime. They hang on the outside of the cage. What I like about them is that they're a nipple feed, so they push on the nipple and the water comes out. It's not the ball feed like you usually see. So these you can open up on the outside right here and just fill them right from the outside of the cage. You don't have to take them off the cage to fill them up. So works out pretty well for me. And here's my clips on the doors. I'll show you kind of how that works. I just use a little clip right here. She likes to open her door herself, so she'll pull on it a little bit. And then whenever I want to clip them, I just clip them right to the top of the cage like that. Door's open, I can reach in, manipulate the rabbit, whatever. And here's a good example of what I mean by rabbits chewing on everything. Always put a piece of untreated wood in here, and you can see how she's chewed it up. She'll move it around her cage and play with it. So anyway, hey there, morning. So anyway, something to kind of keep an eye on. And I think that's about it. So hopefully you learned something.